Welcome, everyone, to another broadcast of The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. All past broadcasts are podcasts. You can pick them up at ArtistFirst.com. We welcome your email questions and comments, dj@ArtistFirst.com. And a special hello to our new listeners tuning in Kazakhstan. Here comes your hosts, Michael and Margaret Lyons.
Shout out to Kazakhstan. And I am Michael Lyons.
And I'm Margaret.
And gosh darn it, I'm glad we cracked the muslin curtain. Or whatever it is.
Okay.
And tonight, speaking of cracking muslin curtains, we are going to talk about our topic is going to be about transformation, about moving through, let's say, the veils of this world and the challenges that we all face within it. And tonight's muse, if you will, is Dr. Jordan Peterson, who has cracked through quite a few veils of his own over the years. So without further ado, if you want, my voice is in pretty good form tonight, and that may not last.
You want to read it?
I'm going to give it a shot. I've
right.
been known to read before. So without further ado, I'm going to read from the quote from Dr. Peterson, and then we are going to launch. So
Okay.
I've told them now I should just do it, right?
Yeah.
I probably should.
Okay.
Okay, well, you cannot be protected from the things that frighten you and hurt you. But if you identify with the part of your being that is responsible for transformation, then you'll find that you are always the equal, or more than the equal, of the things that frighten you. Jordan Peterson. And this is in the context of his many talks about the heroic journey, or about the journey of transformation. And I'm sure we can see whether it's explicit or not that he certainly was influenced by Campbell, Joseph P. Campbell, whose beautiful writings on the mythos and the journey of myth and the heroic journey. Actually, I got one of those wrong. Were very significant, and when we introduced them to Christopher, he found them extremely relevant to his life's journey and to the adversity that he had found himself thrust into, if you will.
Yeah. The quote itself, I thought the significant phrasing in there is identify with the part of your being that is responsible for transformation. And that, in that act of that identification, you will find out that you are more than equal to the task and capable of actually seeing what it is that is frightening you. Because usually fright or fear is something that you turn away from, you don't want to see. But again, if you identify with the part of you that is responsible for transformation, that's your key.
I mean, the whole idea of the heroic journey is that you are, and we can talk about it in broad, but in specific, the hero is normally not a particularly powerful or special person. They can be. But oftentimes what it is that a hero, and most of the best stories, is someone who we can identify with. It's an ordinary person, a person with their own faults and failings, with great potential perhaps, but is unrealized. They're untrained perhaps, they're young. They're starting out their journey. In terms of the tarot, they're the fool.
Right.
The fool, if anyone is familiar with tarot cards, the fool is the card 0, I believe.
Yes.
of the major arcana, and it usually depicts a young man who is got his head up and seems to have not a care in the world, and yet he's about to step into a pit, or he's basically into an abyss. And the abyss, as Campbell often said, the abyss is it can be the subconscious, it can be the world, it can be, but it's a place of fear, a place of the unknown, a place not of the normal reality. It's the cave. If you, very famously in the Star Wars sagas, which were influenced heavily by Campbell, in other words, Lucas's original story, he did a lot of consultation with Joseph Campbell. In fact, the Skywalker Ranch is in some ways named after one of Campbell's archetypical figures. The Skywalker is a heroic figure. But I don't want to go too deeply into it, but one of the archetypes is the cave. One of the other archetypes is the father, who is the son who rescues his father.
That is a going theme throughout all cultures, is the father is rescued by the son.
But I wanted to bring in the cave is the abyss, it's the unknown. It's when you step into the darkness, you step into you make one step into the cave, and you have entered into an unknown world. And oftentimes it's a one-way step. You can't easily go back. You can't just take one, put your toe in and see. With the abyss and with the fool, you fall. And then in falling, you have to realize that you now are sort of on your own, or you're now you've now entered into a space or a place where you're going to have to be alert. You're going to have to be dependent upon yourself, but then also perhaps open to opportunities that may arise along the way. You're on a journey now, and that journey is in essence the heroic journey. You have entered into the forbidden world. You've entered into the abyss. You're going to hit challenges. You're going to have to struggle, and you're going to have to find something new within yourself. Initially, you may, you see in some stories, the hero will say, "Oh, why me?" And that's natural. Why is this happening to me? But then something rises in the true heroic sense, in the sense of all of us. It rises within us to say, in essence, to say in so many words, why not me? This is where I am now, and I have to gather myself, gather my energies, and become equal to, or at least commit myself to the task. And you see that in the kids in the cancer wards. You saw it in the way they reacted, the way Christopher reacted. The initial onset is frightening, but you find yourself in that journey.
Well, the path is unknown, and that brings up fear, because you just don't know. It's not a sure, trodden pathway. And you are encountering monsters of every kind along this journey.
Oh, yes.
So, what do? Do you turn to fear? Or are you looking at this going, I need to take a step forward, not backward? And that's usually the first, what would be the word? The first internal building of realizing that you are more than what you're seeing. As Jordan Peterson had said, identify with the part that is responsible for transformation. In that moment, when you see this great fear in front of you, in your head, you are this little person. You have an idea of who you think you are. But stepping forward means that you have to go past that concept and embrace something greater than what you thought you were capable of. Many times the step beyond what you think you're capable of is just taken. That's why the falling into the abyss for the fool is there. You don't know what's about to happen, and it looks absolutely horrendous. But you take the step forward, regardless. And the truth is, you don't know if you're actually going to fall or not. You just step forward because it has the appearance of an abyss. It's just the great unknown. So, grabbing hold of the moment and realizing in that moment, I can choose to live or I can choose not to live and be engulfed by fear. Those are the only two choices you actually have. And when you think of it that way, you're like, no, I'm going to live. Because being afraid means that you're curling up and you're dying on that spot.
That's the old saying. You know, the hero, the coward, rather, dies 1,000 deaths, and the hero but one. But I wanted to go back because you had so many things in there. You know, the transformative process is an internal process, and one of the first things that the hero realizes is that the external circumstances, which very many people identify with, they say, well, you know, it must be because I did this, or it must be because you know, if they put me in this situation, it must be because I was bad, or so. In taking the circumstances and making them your identity is an initial natural thing, but you find that this is not so. That as you said, the next step, the choice is not to sit there and curl up and identify with the circumstances, feel sorry for oneself, and so on. The next step is to within oneself realize that you are greater than, or you are not your disease, for argument's sake. You're not your circumstances.
Right.
That in stepping into the abyss, sure, you went from what you had considered the normal world and entered into something that is strange and foreign. But yet, when you understand that these are all the one world, that the one world has both within it the heroic journey, the abyss, as well as what we consider the normal world, and it's only through the process, the journey, that you are transformed. So you find new strength along the way. You find different aspects of yourself along the way, and then you can even find, as you go further, that all of these things are in essence also just pieces of the journey. You know, even the finding of oneself, the other archetype, again, very, very beautifully illustrated in Lucas's story, is the archetype of the old wise person, the mentor, the guide, the Yoda, if you will. So this person you meet once you cross the threshold, and that person reveals aspects of you. They're not bringing you anything. They're not saying, well, here's the magic talisman. They may pretend, say, well, here's the magic box. But as in The Wizard of Oz, you know, the courage was always within you all along. The wisdom was always within you. It was always within you. Dorothy always has the way to go home. She's always wearing the ruby slippers. But it's in realizing that you always had and never needed to find the thing you were seeking. You had to discover it within yourself, that transformative path. So the whole thing happens within your, if you use Tolle's terms, within your consciousness, within your being. The abyss is no more than the world. We step into here, into the common dream. We fall into an abyss. And this is the heroic journey. But it's in microcosm, played out over and over again in these stories that we love to tell because they illustrate things about ourselves.
Right. The unknown is the journey. You're taking a step into the unknown and discovering things about what's going on around you and how you choose to respond to it. How you choose to respond to it. Not just the response. And in that, you begin to expand your concepts of being. And I hesitate to use the word concept. It's more experience of being. You expand the experience of being. Concept is always mental.
Awareness, maybe? Expand the awareness
of being. Yes. And because there are multiple levels, so that means there's multiple boundaries of interaction, boundaries where you interact your internal to the external, and learn how porous it actually is. Allowing yourself to do that without any preconceived storybook, maybe that's the best way to put it. Planning out the plot as you're there. It's, this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen, and I'm going to do this, and they're going to say that. Like, no. Let that go and experience what is actually unfolding in front of you and what is being asked and what your response actually is. Because you have a chance to respond from your mind or from your heart or just a pure body response, which is one of two things. It's fight or flight. So, where are you in this? Where is your integration point as a human being? Are you capable of distinguishing between a fight or flight response purely? Have you integrated your own mind discipline to be able to observe yourself in this moment? That is very, very hard to do, especially if you're tied up in a body response. But it can be done. It can be done because you are not just your body and you are not just your mind that's going into panic because it doesn't understand. And your emotions, which is the fuel for this all, doesn't need to fuel fear. You can actually make a choice and say, no, I do not choose to fuel fear, but I choose to fuel courage so that I may see and take steps into the heroic part of my being. That's the transformation.
That's exactly right. And I think what you said earlier, the tendency, especially when you're talking about the mind, is to anticipate and to not be in the moment, but say, well, this is going to happen, as you said, and this one's going to say this, and this is going to do that, and, well, what are the odds, Well, I want better odds, I want this, I want all these things, I want assurances. The mind looks for
what it knows.
Well, exactly. It looks to say, well, what happened before and what's going to happen next, and this could happen and that could happen. We should plan for this and we should plan for that, and we want better odds, and all this is all very mental, conceptual. And the body or the emotion that fuels that is fear. and anxiety and worry and all the other aspects which are fear, which is all future anticipation and not in the moment. And part of the heroic journey is to realize that, yes, there are monsters. You've heard tell of the monsters, you hear the monsters are in there, they're in the abyss. But until you come to the monster, actually in presence, and say, now is the time, this is the moment when we have to actually confront the monster. We confront it in presence, in the reality of the moment, in the what will I do, what is actually happening. And in the actual happening of the moment, there isn't any planning. You know, as is often the case, you'll make a battle plan. You'll say, well, we'll have this, we'll do this, we'll have these supplies and all this other stuff. And then the first shots are fired in the battle. And the plan, which was certainly good to organize yourself or prepare yourself or train, these are all good things. But the plan goes by the wayside in the exigency of the moment. The exigency of the moment means that I must perceive now. I must see the monster in its reality. I may have to completely change what I will do on the next moment because the anticipation is often far worse, or at least very different, than the actuality. The odds don't matter. The only odds that matter, or rather the only thing that matters, is what happens to you in this moment. If someone says to you, you have 0% chance of survival, or you have 100% chance of survival, those are both lies. And to take them as truth and as surety is to blind yourself with fear as to the actual reality of the moment. If somebody says to you, you have a 100% chance of survival, you know it's a lie, because nobody does, ever. So similarly, if they tell you that you have 0 chance of survival, that you are going to die this next instant, you know it's a lie, because you go to the next instant, and it doesn't happen. And no matter what, no one knows the future. The future is unknowable. The past is immutable. The mind sits there and just spins. And to quiet the mind, to put yourself in the now, is to confront the monster, the actual monster. And in making your heart-level choice, you need now. You don't need what if and could have been. You don't need either of those things. And you will find within yourself that journey is the one that informs. That journey is the one that expands the awareness. And you realize also that the monster is never as big as they say, or even what they say, because they don't know. They're just guessing and trying to be authorities.
Well, you look at the present moment and you evaluate according to where you are in that moment. And if you've trained yourself, you can let go of preconceived notions, whether it was something somebody said to you or the way you've always done something, or doesn't mean that you're disregarding the body of information you may already have gathered, but you need to understand that your mind will filter the moment into things that you need to see.
Very true.
And expanding that to see the things that are beyond the filter, that takes training, conscious training.
and a conscious awareness of the moment, even with all the training, right? You know, the training is extremely important, but the training you're talking about is not the preparatory training. All that's good. But you're talking about training your awareness to seize the moment of now and perceive it as clearly as possible. Right. You're training the heart eyes you're training yourself to be both in the moment of now, in perception, and then in the moment of now, which is the same moment of now of acceptance, and then in the moment of now, which is the same moment of now of what I will do next. And what you may do next is nothing particularly, or maybe something. But you also open yourself in that same, let's say, 3 things that you just did in the moment of now to the next moment of now. So the training is awareness, perception, and being in the moment, although all the other training. And getting there is the transformative journey, and it happens completely within your being.
Well, the training I'm speaking of is getting out of your own way.
Getting out of your own way.
You basically are telling yourself exactly what's going to happen, or what you expect to happen, or perhaps this may happen as a possibility. You know, these are possibilities, and this could happen. But the minute you just focus on all those possibilities, you have already put blinders on your perceptions of what's actually going on. And it's a more, how do I say this? It's a mental habit form that most people have. They want it to go a certain way. And would rather not open to see what's actually unfolding before them. And it's gauging yourself, because your limits or your boundaries are shot past. There's a lot of fear in this, and there's a lot of pain. When you shoot past your boundaries, you are in pain. It is the way of things. But can you see past the pain?
Exactly. If you to just go back to a familiar analogy, again, Lucas's story, you notice the clowns, which are actually, let's call them the droids, are always calculating the odds. They're always anticipating what's going to be happening next. They're always saying, oh, woe is me, this is a disaster, it's all going to fall to pieces. This is the mental, the pure mental. And one of the famous lines in that particular story is, never tell me the odds. And what that means in the moment, it's a funny line. It seems to be like a devil may care. But what it really means is that the odds don't matter. And we saw so many times in our own, in Christopher's own journey, and Christopher's journey in the Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Wards, the odds, what will happen? Here's all the facts. Here's 500 pieces of paper. You have to sign every one of them that says this is all the side effects that are going to happen. Here's all the things that can go wrong. Here's where you are, and here's where you're going to be tomorrow, and here's what's going to happen. And you hear all of this, and if you take it within and identify it, try to seize it and grasp what they're seeming to offer you, which is the safety or the surety. Follow us, and we know exactly what's going to happen. And if you do it wrong, you're not following us. It's going to go wrong. You have to, and all that sounds good, but some part of you knows it's false, and some part of Christopher knew it almost immediately, viscerally, that it was false. And if you come to that and accept it, you accept that none of the authorities matter, the odds don't matter, that it's all about your individual now. This is a step into that transformative path. It puts you in a scary place where anything can happen, but it puts you in the most powerful place. You're right at the center, and anything can happen. And so never tell me the odds means I don't care. I mean, if you wish to focus on the odds and identify with them, God bless you. But in fact, I'm going to focus on the now. And in the moment of now, the odds don't matter. And in the moment of now, the odds say we have to go back to the studio. So we're going to have a 100% chance of a studio break, and then we'll come back on the other side, and we'll have some chance of continuing this discussion. But we'll see you on the other side.
Man Gets Out of Bed is the latest book from Michael Lyons, the award-winning author of There is a Reaper. Featuring 13 original stories, this wide-ranging collection has everything. Forbidden love, gods versus demigods, weird invading aliens, sexy seductive artificial intelligence, and unusual passion between the living and the dead. All set amidst fantastic worlds of pain and loss and boundless joy. From the sublime to the macabre to the bittersweet, The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed will leave you breathless with laughter, brimming with tears, trembling with suspense. Available now on Amazon.com, Google Play, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere.
Moonstones and Murder. Real murderers need a heart of stone. Meet Maggie and Mike Heartstone, parents of twin boys, entrepreneurs, and now empty nesters. Mike is retired, not by choice, from his position as chief of police in the picturesque resort town of Hamilton. And now his wife Maggie and her shop, the Cozy Crystal, are their only source of income. When a mysterious killing interrupts Hamilton's famous Springfield Park rock show, the townsfolk, the Cozy Crystal, and their lives are rocked to the core. Can Mike and Maggie figure out who is behind the murderous deeds before the town comes crashing down around them? A touch of romance, a little mayhem, and a whole lot of suspense, along with plenty of comedy and thrills galore. Get your crystal magnifying glass out. It's time for some Moonstones and Murder. Available on Amazon, Apple, Kobo, and other fine e-tailers in ebook and paperback. Out soon on Audible. Get your copy today.
Rick Riordan fans, love mythology with plenty of action and humor? Destroyer's Blood is for you. The new fantasy novel by award-winning author Michael Lyons is book 1 of the adventures of Dev Kalian, the Blood series. Follow Dev and his magic sword Betrayer as they are suddenly attacked and forced to return to Olympus to fight in a war they want no part in. The world of men and gods is about to be destroyed by Zeus's ancient foe, and only Dev and Trey can stop him. The conflict never stops, and the amazing twist will have you on the edge of your seat. Act now while the ebook is on sale for only 99 cents. Destroyer's Blood is available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere. And while you're there, get the free prequel, It's in the Blood, available for a limited time.
The wait is over. First Blood, Book 2 of the Blood series is out. Your favorite bad boy thief Dev is back, and the beautiful and deadly Trey is right there with him. She is sharp, sexy, and full of surprises. Their adventures continue as a new power arises to threaten the world. The heart of creation is under attack, and time is definitely not on their side as they battle against their enemies' undead hordes. Can they unlock the hidden power that can defeat him, or will his forces draw first blood? Get all 3 installments in the series. Book 0, It's in the Blood. Book 1, Destroyer's Blood, and the new release, Book 2, First Blood, today. Available in ebook and paperback format on Amazon, Kobo, Apple, and most other fine e-tailers.
There is a Reaper is the story of 5-year-old Christopher Aaron and his life-changing struggle with leukemia. Winner of both the Indie Bragg Medallion as well as the reader's favorite silver medal for memoir. There is a Reaper has more than 100 Amazon book reviews and a 5-star rating. It has been described as life-changing, spiritual, a must-read. Just released on Audible and iTunes, this memoir is also available in paperback and on Amazon Kindle for only 99 cents. Get your copy of this life-changing memoir today.
Joining us on The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. Back to your co-hosts Michael and Margaret Lyons.
Thank you very much, Seaman. And you are mid-abyss. On our heroic journey this evening, we are talking about the capacity that all of us have for heroic transformation. And Margaret, I would say that oftentimes when people read stories about heroes, they think, well, that's not me, that can't be me, or that's somebody else's thing. I'm just ordinary Joe or ordinary Sally or whatever. And that is the furthest thing from the truth. And Campbell often said it, we are all heroes in our own story. And even that is sort of wrong, because it's not a story, it's your life. And when you're born into this common dream, you step into an abyss. You step into a transformative journey of incarnation, of learning, of mentors, of circumstances beyond your control. And, if you currently are sitting in your easy chair and everything seems wonderful and you're in a little eddy of life and everything's going along wonderfully and beautifully, just say, well, this is a good part of my journey. This is a part that I just enjoy, this being in this moment of now. Because one thing is completely certain, it will change. And that doesn't mean, when you say that to people, they think, what do you mean it's going to change? It's going to get bad? Everyone always thinks it's going to change for the worse. It's not worse or better. These are also terms of the mind, or terms of classification. It will change. It will be different. The moment of now, if you wish to experience it, take it, grab it, be in it. Because the next moment of now will be different. Whatever your mind tells you, no matter how many insurance policies you buy, no matter how many creams, oils, unguents, and all those things you put on, your next moment of now will be different. And it will not be under your control. And this frightens people, because it is the unknown. And the unknown is frightening. Part of your heroic journey is to grasp your fear, and we talk about that a little bit, and so does Jordan Peterson. Grasp your fear and come to terms with it. You cannot, the first line in his quote, you cannot be protected from the things that frighten you and hurt you. Things that you fear and things that actually harm you cannot be protected from them. There's no way. The only thing you have is you, the being, and your ability to realize that you are greater than anything that happens to you. You are a being vaster than reality or than circumstance. And that these things in the moment of now have to be experienced, whatever they are. And you have to take them into your experience and realize that they are there as transformative experiences, transformative points in your journey through which you become aware of you yourself, of your being, of another aspect, of something that you have to learn, put into your experience bag.
Your journey is to live life. There's been, people always debate, well, what's the meaning of life? And you always go back. Honestly, when you say that life has no meaning, you really have. How do I say this? There's only depression.
You've given up in some regard.
There's only depression left for you to hold. And if you really believe life is meaningless, my question is, how do you live a meaningless life?
You have to try hard, I'd say.
Well, if you think about it, it's like, isn't that what is that called? There's two words that just don't go together.
An oxymoron.
Yes, thank you.
I met one the other day.
Oh, my.
There I was. Everyone, I'm not going to do that joke. Keep on going.
Thanks.
An oxymoron.
But a meaningless life. Those two words just don't go together. You're putting a box around life and you're only seeing it through the lens of mental. A mental concept. Meaning. That's the meaning. It means something. It correlates to something. This correlates to that. This number 2 correlates to these 2 items. It's a mental construct. Life is not a mental construct.
I think that the term is so beautiful because if you say life has no meaning or a meaningless life, you don't understand the term life or the term meaningless.
Mm-hmm.
The meaningless portion of it is that the mind, the mental aspect, conceptual aspect, can't abstract what it defines as meaning. It can't say, well, here's a jar of meaning that I got out of my life. I squeeze this portion and there's the meaning. There it is. I've distilled it into these 3 words, 42 or whatever it is. The meaning of life.
42.
But in fact, life requires no meaning. Life is experiential. And life in and of itself is the only way it becomes meaningless is if you don't have one. If you do not live, that's a meaningless thing. Once you're in the world and in experience, meaning comes along with it. In the sense of, if you say, why is my life? The only answer is being. I am who am encapsulates the meaning of life. I aming is it. I being is it. You don't have to justify being. Being just is. It's the isness of now. It's like the universe. What's the meaning of the universe? It doesn't need one. Meaning has no context in the universe. The universe just is. It's the isness of now. What's the meaning of my life? It's a meaning. It's like the sound of. It's like a koan. It's like the sound of one hand clapping. The meaning of life. Life doesn't require meaning. Life is being, and being is not meaning. Being just is.
Well, you choose either to fully participate in life, or you're just dragging yourself along. But while I do this, I have to.
Isn't that it? If you're looking for anything, the being is the meaning. If you choose to be, you're there. You need nothing else but. And if you choose to identify yourself with circumstance and narrow it into the box, and then search in the box that you've made entirely too small for it for meaning, you have a box that's just too small that you're trying to find some meaning in.
It's overflowing outside the box.
It's outside the box.
It's completely outside your box.
The box is empty because you've made it empty. You've constructed an empty box and say, why is there nothing in here? Because...
No, well, the way I look at it is that life is too big to be put into this little box.
Any box.
So you putting life in this box overflows the boundaries of it.
Right.
Life is outside your boundaries.
in Plato's The Cave, they're staring. They're chained. They're staring. They're looking at shadows on the wall. The whole thing. But then in that little incredibly small box, they're looking for meaning. There is no meaning there. The meaning is in the being, the vastness of the isness of you, the being of you, and the experiential. And the experiential happens all around you and throughout all of you. The mental concept of the cave means almost nothing. Even escaping the cave means almost nothing. There isn't meaning there. The being of you, the experiential part of you, the part of you which feels in the heart and chooses, observes. This is all the meaning that is ever going to be, and it's everything. But it can't fit in that box.
No, but this is why the question always arises, what is your definition of life then? If you feel that your life has no meaning, what is your definition of life? Because people say, oh yeah, I can't find meaning in my life. It's like, okay, what is your, show me, talk to me. What is it that you're using as your metric? What are you measuring it against?
Where's your meaning stick?
The meaning ruler?
The meaning ruler. It's truly what, and this is again such a mental concept, Margaret, is people want a meaning ruler. They want a bar like they have in those fund drives where it fills up from the bottom and it turns red as you add more and more, whatever. And they want a meaning bar. And they say, well, my bucket list isn't complete yet.
Oh, the bucket list.
The bucket list is just a meaning bar. It's just, oh gosh, I haven't done everything on my list. And to narrow one's life to a bucket list, to a list, and say, once I've checked off everything on the list, I can be happy. Can't you feel how false that is?
Yeah, that never works.
Never works. And it belies the whole idea. It puts into a box that somehow you can push a button here and a light goes on there, that this is a controllable, tiny little... And meanwhile, life is surging and roiling and just moving all about you. And you're sitting there and staring into this tiny little box saying, I don't see the meaning. And there's 10 things on my list I haven't done yet. Ooh. Well, this is not the heroic journey. The heroic journey happens when some circumstance blows your box out of the water and confronts you with the actual circumstances of life and says to you, not only is there no meaning in that box, but now, here in this now, deal with this. Be here. I won't let you be anywhere else. And realize that you are vaster than any box you've ever thought of.
Mm-hmm. We all try to order our world into a manageable and comfortable series of events.
Yes. An unfortunate series of events.
And everybody does that because they've got to get through their day. And you have to make accommodations for everyday needs. It's the way of things. And then if it's just you, that's one. But if you're dealing with a family, and you're coordinating everybody on the everyday needs. So you get real busy. And in that kind of management, you begin to think that you already know what the world is. Because I'm taking care of this and this and this and this, and this is all going here. And well, this is my world. But you're only touching the surface of it. It's not the entirety of your existence. The entirety of your being is more to you than that. And what I've been noting is that, when you're so involved, whether it's home or at work or both, and there's demand placed on your attention, if you do not allow yourself to have your own personal space and time to allow yourself to be still and contemplative, just to be able to breathe. That's when the boundaries of the mental constructs of trying to manage yourself and everything else almost become concrete. You can't change them. It's got to be this way because we're going to hit this or that wall if we don't do it this way. Stillness has none of that. Stillness allows you to rise up above this concrete box that you have been living in.
I would say that a concrete box is a very apt description because concrete is fragile and brittle. It looks strong, but if you hit it the wrong way, it just cracks.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good metaphor for when someone has a highly structured mental concept of their life, a box which looks very strong. The universe, the isness of now, sweeps that away like the figurative sandcastle on the beach. The wave comes in, and what looked so strong and solid, it erodes in an instant, and the wave washes over it. And your being self is swept up in that wave. Your box and all your careful, insurance policies and every other thing, all your planning is swept aside, and you're left with the actual, let's say uncomfortable, the actual just reality, the isness of now, that this is the next moment. You're here now. You have all of your mental concepts and the emotional energy that you had invested in them has no bearing on this current moment of now. Those were all fantasies. They were mental, as you say, conceptual concepts, boxes. They're all cast to the wind of the moment of now. But what you're left with is you, the vastness of you, the fact that you are still here, that this moment of now is entirely yours, that all the weight, as you mentioned, all the weight of those boxes and all the detritus of life and all the things, all the pressures and everything that put upon you, as they're swept away, there's a certain vastness, an expanse that opens up. It's frightening. You're now in the heroic journey. You've gone into a different world, and those who are still in the world that you just left look upon you as some sort of fantastic beast, some monster they can't understand anymore, because you're no longer in their world.
Right.
You're in the truer world, the greater world.
Oh, it's true. Because people cling to their boxes.
Yes.
And
like life preservers.
And if you don't fit into the boxes that they've been using, then fear sets right in.
And they want to reject you.
Well, the first thing that they do usually is they look at you and go, trying to reason.
You must deserve that.
Well,
you must have done something wrong.
How did this happen? Yeah, did you do something wrong? Or, is it genetic? Must run in your family.
Yes.
Or
it doesn't happen to us.
Yeah, or is it some disease that we can get from you?
It's contagion.
Yes. And it's just fear. And you look at them and you're like, you're just talking fear at me. And it becomes really obvious when someone is speaking to you through fear. But they don't realize it, but you see it. It's not pretty.
No.
It is not pretty. It's like when someone's spewing hate at you. It's just ew.
I want to stop you for a second because this is an important point. When you have gone through the journey, and Campbell talks about this, you go through the heroic journey, you go through the abyss, you do return. Part of the heroic journey is going into the abyss and returning. But when you come back, you are changed, you are transformed. You can rejoin what is, quote unquote, the normal world. But you are no longer normal. And there's no way, and some of the regret of the heroic journey, if people indulge in it, is they can't go back. There's no, and this is true of life, the transformative journey that we are on doesn't have any backseas. You can remember when you were young and naive, and before perhaps the heroic journey happened, you say, well, I had everything all together. I thought I knew it all. And you can look back on that previous self of yours and say, I knew nothing. And I'm different. I'm greater. I'm vaster now. Perhaps I don't even know. I know now that I still don't know it all. But that's okay. I accept that. But then to go back to someone with their boxes and you come back into their lives and they're like, oh, you're back. Well, just fit right back in here and you just do these things.
Yeah.
And you just, and it all looks like toys on the beach. And you stand above it and you look down and you say, I don't feel like playing right now.
Right.
And they can't understand that. Because the truth of it is beyond the boxes. And you'll find others, and you'll be able to talk to others who've had similar experiences. But the prior comfortable nest of little boxes and things, you can't go back. It's a transformative journey, but it's also not a cyclical journey. You don't come back to the place you started. You come back, but you're in a different place.
Mm-hmm. It's like a spiral.
It is like a spiral. And you realize once you've done it a couple times that there are spirals still above you or beyond you until you reach those spirals. But in the vastness, you accept even that. You accept your lack of knowledge. You accept that you don't know everything, and you're happy and comfortable with it.
I found that the hardest thing for me was beginning to interact with people with boxes again. It was so difficult because everything was so vivid, so real. You were in a larger world, and people were looking at you like, "Oh, you're just an anomaly in my world. That stuff doesn't happen to us. Let's go and."
And you just kind of, with diamond vision, you look at them and go, "Okay, I accept that. That's where you are." You can't even change them. You can't give them the knowledge.
It's not that. My problem was interacting with them because it hurt so much.
Yeah.
It really did, because I could look at you and see what you're not seeing. You're not appreciating the life that you've been given. You're complaining. You're bitching and moaning about the fact that you got to get the kids on the bus. And, oh, gee, I forgot the lunch. Or, well, this was the worst thing that happened.
This is the worst day ever.
And I just, and it's just phrases that people use that they don't even realize. And you look at them and you go, you're asleep. And I can't interact with you because your praising is showing how blind you are and the fact that you are insensitive to life.
But you don't have to do anything, because life, the universe, the isness of now will take care of that for you.
Well, I'm just speaking of the fact that re-entering this world of boxes is not an easy task.
No. But yet, here we are for you people. No, I'm just kidding. But here we are, and in this moment of now, we have to say that the show is coming to an end.
We've reached our close. So, I'm Margaret.
And I'm Michael.
And thank you for listening.